Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. For those that don't know me, I'm Josh Moore. I'm the marketing manager at Net-Ctrl, and we are joined by Bronte Mulvaney from Verkada. So Bronte is going to take the main session, and I'm going to be here just to cover any questions during the session and at the end for the Q&A for anything directed at Net-Ctrl. For those on the call that don't know Net-Ctrl, so we're a technology integrator. So we've been working in the education sector for about 20 years now. Three main areas of our business. So we've got the Wi-Fi and switching, cybersecurity, and then building management solutions, which Verkada falls into. So we've just been partnered with Verkada now for just over a year. We really like the solution. The platform's great. It integrates across different technologies, which we really like. 24/7 support, 10-year warranty. But what we've really seen over the last year is their investment and commitment to build on their portfolio, adding new features to existing accounts. So that's been really great to see. So that before I do pass over to Bronte, just so you're aware, the session is going to be recorded. We'll be sending a recording out post-event to everyone that's registered. We do have a chat box live, and there should be a Q&A box as well. So if there's any questions during the session, do put them there, and we'll just try and cover them at the end between Bronte and myself. So I hope you find the session enjoyable, and I'll pass over to Bronte.
Fab, thank you, Josh. Thanks everyone for joining. So as Josh said, my name is Bronte. I'm one of the account managers at Verkada. I've worked at Verkada for nearly 2 years, and I have a lot of experience with schools and coming up with things to stop vaping, but also just bad behavior in general and some of those issues in schools. So how today will work is I'll run you through a couple of slides that explain how the vape sensors work and how we work in schools. And then I'll jump in, do an actual product demonstration with one of our vape sensors in our London office. And then we'll chat a bit at the end about the free trial program that Verkada runs and answer any questions that you might have. So just to give you a bit of background on who Verkada are, Josh actually very kindly covered the Net-Ctrl portion for you. Don't worry, I won't read this all out to everyone. But Verkada is a security company. We are headquartered out in San Francisco in Silicon Valley, and I sit in our London Old Street office. The idea behind Verkada is that rather than say you're a school that has 3 schools as part of that, and each school might have a different alarm system, they might have a different camera system, they might be looking at vape sensor detection, and rather than when something goes wrong, you don't know who to contact, you don't know what program it's running, you don't know what the manufacturer is. Instead, Verkada is one platform with 6 product lines at the moment, and all the product lines integrate with one another, so you get the benefit of having this all-in-one system that's on a single pane of glass. So what is the state of vaping in the UK today? I mean, it's not a shock to everyone. We've all seen the increase just as you walk down the street. If you go into any corner shop, the amount of vapes that are now sold, that vaping is on the up and up, and it's not going anywhere. Our vape sensors show a 20% increase in vaping in the last year. More than 4 in 5 teachers say that people are vaping, and I know that whenever I've visited schools, etc., it's very easy to catch that or notice that it's going on because of the distinct smell. And 96% of teenagers view vaping as a problem, and over half of vaping teens say that they are addicted. So vaping is not going anywhere when you consider that 50% of teenagers say that they're addicted. The Verkada platform consists of more than just the sensors that I'll be referring to as vape sensors for this, but they do a lot more than that. We have cameras, access control, intercoms, guest and mailroom management, and alarms, and all of them have automatic software and firmware updates, an industry-leading 10-year warranty with world-class 24/7 support, and they're an encrypted closed-loop system that you can access from anywhere. And we have a great mobile app as well that's actually just had an update, and it is better than ever. So how does it work with the Verkada vape systems? It's not just to prevent vaping as well. Bullying is a big one we get asked about, and there's definitely a way that they can help with this. So when vaping occurs, the vape sensor will detect it, and it can send SMS and emails letting you know that this is going on. If you have units with or without audio, the cameras this is about, you would have a camera outside the door as highlighted by this blue area here, and it will then pair the events with the camera footage, so you'll be able to catch anybody coming in or out the toilets that could be associated with that event. The cameras are very easy to install, and Net-Ctrl can certainly help on this one. I know that they're very, very experienced education installers, and they're a fully integrated system that you can manage from anywhere. So we speak to a lot of people in IT, in facilities, in the SLT team, anyone really that sort of has to deal with this problem. And a lot of them will say, what if I don't work on a certain day? What if I get a question over the weekend about somebody trying to break in? And the really benefit is that you can access this footage and the sensors from everywhere, but privacy is at the heart of it. So we have a lot of things in place to make sure that nobody is viewing cameras when they shouldn't be, etc. So what are the benefits of Verkada for the education sector? As I just mentioned, you can monitor it from anywhere. You can detect vaping. You can secure your facilities with ease. You can set up things like motion alerts at the weekends if anybody's going into the toilets. You can detect bullying by setting up noise alerts if anyone's screaming or shouting, or perhaps in the toilet during a time like assembly time where they should all be in assembly. You can prevent unauthorized visitors using our guest management platform, and you can proactively deter threats with our cameras and our alarms. So building on today's solutions and creating a better response. So the idea is that rather than using punishment as the primary deterrence measure, we are building a holistic vape intervention program. That's something I'll touch on at the end, is how we sort of encourage you to work these into your behavioral policies rather than just using it as a way to suspend students. Moving from responding to every single vape alert to analysing them, seeing the times of day. Is it that it's first break? Is it the time in between lessons when the students are moving through the school that it's worse? And this really helps you with working out when should you have staff members patrolling corridors, when should you lock down certain toilets. And rather than confronting students outside of the bathroom, you're able to have this meaningful conversation where you have this paired camera footage, and rather than it being a bit of an attack or a trap set, you can actually pair this footage. Maybe you have a 3-strike policy that if they're caught 3 times, and then with this evidence, it allows you to have much more meaningful conversations with students and with parents, in my opinion. So vape sensors in action. This is the image of a day's worth of vapes that were collected by a school after installing Verkada vape sensors. They famously said, yeah, fine, put them in for the trial. Don't think we have much of an issue. I mean, I think that one's literally still in the packet, the front one. So they must have really used these vape sensors, paired them, and then searched the students that were identified by the cameras. Just a couple of the schools that love us. We're always happy as well. If you are interested in vape sensors and you want to find out if a school near you has them, please reach out to myself or Josh, and we'd be able to find out that information for you. I've been involved with a couple of these schools on here, and we also have, like, All Saints Multi Academy Trust is a huge school trust up north. So just a couple of reviews. We are absolutely massive in the schools in America at the moment. I think we're now in 1 in 3 schools, although don't hold me to that. So that stat might be, I think that is accurate. But these are just a couple of reviews from people that have been using Verkada for a while. And actually, just while I mentioned that with America, I think that's a really important thing to note. So we've been in America. Verkada is a 7 years old company, and we have nearly 8 actually. And we've been using America for vaping for about 5 years. The whole time they're ahead of us in the vape curve. I don't know if anyone's seen the Rise of Juul documentary, but they were ahead of us with the vaping epidemic. And so all our vape sensors have been tried and tested out in America, which I think is important to note, that these sensors have not been created in response to the issue that's really, cropped up in the last year. So this is a school this is a school in Stratford, sorry. And they say that we have a single centralized platform to protect staff and students across multiple buildings. Every time we log in, we get the best user experience because of the behind the scenes updates. They've noticed that they've saved 805 investigation hours. They've had a 67% decrease in overall vape events from when they first installed the vape sensors, and they intercept 90% of vape alerts. And then at John Langrill, they've said that the sensors were up for 3 days before I received my first text alert that someone was vaping in the bathroom. We now have a camera that overlooks the main corridor outside the bathroom, so when vape smoke is detected, we have immediate video context into the situation. So this is a really good way that they're utilising it to stop staff having to rush to the bathrooms as soon as they detect anything, but rather that they can view that camera footage when it suits them and then come up with a response. So jumping in now to the product demonstration. Josh, can you see my screen here?
Yeah, it's all going up fine.
So this is the Verkada platform. As you can see, it's a single pane of glass. It's just a browser that I log into with my credentials, so you can access it from anywhere. The first thing to highlight is that all of our products are in one place. You've got your cameras, your access control, your sensors, alarms, intercom, guest mailroom, and our newest product, Gateway. And it's also really easy to flip between sites. So if you are somebody that manages a certain school, for example, if I search London, I can see the different cameras in our London office straight away. So jumping into sensors, we have quite a few of the air quality sensors across our offices. And the thing I really want to highlight first is that, oh, not that one, is the sensor when it's paired with the camera. So you can see here, this is a room, actually our demonstration room in our London office. If anybody would ever like to come in and have a play around in here, more than welcome to. And these are some of the things that the SV25 is measuring. For vaping, we actually recommend the SV23, which contains everything on this list down here up to motion. So it detects motion, but it doesn't detect ambient light pressure and formaldehyde. I knew I shouldn't have attempted saying that as I went to do it. But you can see here, it's measuring more than just vape. It's temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, noise, air quality, and a tamper is a big one in schools as well. So how it works is that if I click into Vape Index, I can see any of these events. So I can see here on March the 6th, there was an event at 11:27 a.m. It lasted 23 seconds. And if I click it, I can actually see the paired video footage of this. So it's very easy to work out who the culprits could be before I've even loaded the footage. You can see my colleague Sarah at the top there, and then my colleague Craig. The paired video footage lets me know, there we are. I didn't even know she vaped. Very easy to catch a colleague on these cameras. And you can see that even though the vape sensor is actually right behind her on this wall and she's not facing it, it's hit that sensor immediately. So what's going to happen now is that the triggers will send out text and email alerts to all the people that you pre-configured. This is very useful. It's also really, you can really get very personal with it. So if you are, for example, it wouldn't be great for our head of office in San Francisco to know that vaping is going on in the London office. So they don't receive alerts for that, but then they do receive alerts for the ones in San Francisco. So if you're a teacher and you're the head of sixth form and you're right by the sixth form toilets, you might want to receive every alert from those toilets, but the PE toilets might be on the other side of the building, and so you don't really mind what's going on in there. You can see that you can very easily configure the settings. So if I come to the vape index and edit trigger, you can see that we actually have it set at a very low threshold because we're in an office. We encourage schools to set it sort of here, and this bar here is a real confidence measure. So green is confident vape is not occurring, red is pretty confident that it is, very confident that it is. And what you can then do is choose the sensitivity as well. So again, we'd recommend medium for schools, and you can create alerts based on this. And it's really easy to create alerts in the system. You can, if I wanted to receive these alerts, for example, and I wanted it to be vaping, it's done like that, and I've now created the alert for my account. But what you can also do is create groups. So when you onboard, when you choose which members of staff you would like to receive the alerts, you can call it, the SLT team, and all you would do there is type in that it should go to the whole SLT team rather than just one person. So it's really easy to manage these alerts. You can also change off even which days certain people receive alerts. So when I went to create, you can see here notification schedule. Let's say I don't work Thursdays, I can remove it from there. And it's a really easy system to work with as well. It's very intuitive. It is not built for people that only have IT backgrounds. It's built for everyone to be able to use. So coming out of that, the other thing, sorry, my own face keeps getting in the way. The other thing I wanted to highlight was the noise level. So this is a huge one that people don't realize the benefit of. And the amount of people I've had come back to me that have bought vape sensors for the purpose of vape detection and said we're actually using the noise equally as much is amazing. Again, you can choose how much the trigger is set at, what noise would you like to have it alert you to? So we typically advise, I can't remember the exact decibel range, but sort of the noise about two people shouting. Obviously, noise in bathrooms is not good. It is indicative of bad behavior going on. It's not recording noise. It's just assessing the sound levels. And again, you can do the exact same thing where you set up alerts for these kind of things as well, so that you can find out if there's a lot of shouting going on in the Year 7 toilets and you can get there and investigate, or you can look through the camera and see who it was that might have been causing that noise. So this is really where you see the benefit of having these a paired video and sensor system, where it's very easy, rather than trawling back through your own CCTV, you can have a special camera that is specifically for when there is vaping going on. So here's another incident here. If I click in, you can see it's February 27th between 11:26 and 11:28 a.m. There is one of our managers actually having a vape in the demo room. You can see the very clear video footage, and you would then be able to very easily ascertain that it was him, as seen on other cameras as well. The other thing I wanted to mention is the analytics. So the analytics are a really good way of when people are asking what you're doing about the vaping problem, or when you are evaluating how bad your vaping problem is, of looking at this. So we can see here that we had, if I go swap to monthly, it runs analytics for you. So you can see that actually this month we're down 62% from the previous month, which is good news. Oh no, we're up actually 100% in London, which isn't great. But you can see that actually in this month we had 18 alerts. It's very easy. You can do it on a daily or weekly basis. I know one school that when they trialed the vape sensors, they knew that they were going off all the time. They were sort of figuring out who it was, but they couldn't work out why it was so bad all the time. And then year 9 went out to do their Duke of Edinburgh, and the vape alerts absolutely plummeted. And that really allowed them, using this analytics tool, because they said, what was the difference between Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, to realize it was year 9 and to focus their sort of anti-vaping education on the year 9 group. And then finally, with the sensors, is the use of dashboards. So this is a very easy way for people that don't necessarily want to have access to the whole system to view what's going on. The idea behind it is that they don't have to log into Command to see these. You can very easily share them with somebody else. So for example, if you imagine that this temperature bar is actually a vape bar, I know some schools that will have the headmaster or mistress actually just have access to this, so they can see what times of day the vaping is worse. They can see what the noise level is, what the temperature is, and just really keep an eye on an environment that you don't want to have to put cameras in, or have to have staff members regularly checking the bathrooms. And then if I come back out of this, you can see how easy it is to share. Where's the share button gone? Yeah, there. So if I wanted to share this with Josh, for example, I would put in, oh, I don't have access to it, but I would put in Josh's, and this is another thing, this is actually bad timing, but it shows you how privacy is at the heart of what we do. So we have lots of different user settings, so that certain teachers would only be able to see like live footage, or only be able to see the vape sensors without cameras paired, and wouldn't be able to edit any of the triggers, because you don't want everyone messing around with those. And it means that certain people can't share cameras, like I obviously am not allowed to do. But it also really just keeps students safe, especially in the education environment. But if I had the permissions, I could share this with Josh and say, Josh is going to have access to this dashboard for a week. So if you have inspectors in, or you have governors in that would like to have access to this information, you can very easily share it with them without having to grant them access to a whole system. Then the other thing I wanted to just go through a couple of points on quickly is the cameras. The cameras that you can buy with the vape sensors are our fully functional security cameras. So it's good for you just to know what else is involved in those, as they aren't just built for vape detection. One thing that's absolutely massive is the ability to break down the history. So if I wanted to know what had happened, let's say it happened in first period between 9 and 10 a.m. and you're trying to figure out what that was. You know that someone's rucksack was stolen, let's say, you can break down the footage into as little as 20 seconds. So I'll break it down into 10 minutes. And you can then see every time a person has actually gone through that frame. So you can see here there are 2 people in the frame highlighted in the green boxes. Or if I wanted to see what happened overnight in San Francisco, sorry, this is our San Francisco camera, by the way. It's looking quite bright there, though, at the moment for 7 a.m. If I wanted to see what happened overnight, okay, one person came by at 1:13, one person left the building at 1:16, nothing between 12 and 1. Oh no, 3 people, between 2 and 3, nothing. So you can see how easy it is to review a lot of footage very quickly. And then an absolutely huge feature in schools right now is the people detection. You have the ability to search based upon what somebody is wearing, which I appreciate is a good tool, but perhaps not as useful if your school utilizes school uniforms. But what is really handy is the ability to do face search. So for this, I'm just going to pop back to one of our London cameras. This is our front door in London. It's just easier to pick on my own colleagues. And if I come to faces, I can see a lot of different people. So this is my colleague Brooke. She's got really unlucky there that she's popped up first. If I wanted to see where else has she been by, so imagine this is perhaps a parent that you don't want coming by. It's a safeguarding issue. It is somebody that for whatever reason shouldn't be coming to the school and picking up their child. You can click in on them and see whenever they've been by any of your cameras. Let me just refresh this. I've been having Wi-Fi issues today. So back to faces, Brooke. And what you can actually do as well is create a person of interest based off of this. So as you can see, all this footage of Brooke coming in and out through our main door, it pairs that. So you can very easily discover if there's a pattern, if they're going by any of your cameras that they shouldn't be. And if Brooke is a parent that for whatever reason, an aunt, an uncle, whatever those particular safeguarding issues are that you do not want coming back by the school, then I could mark her as a person of interest. Let's put safeguarding issue. And you would receive text and email alerts letting you know if they come by any of your cameras. So from a safeguarding point of view, this is massive. You could also, if you're looking for a student that perhaps has disappeared from the school, you can't figure out why they're not in their lesson, you want to see if they've gone home, this is definitely a way in which you can do that as well. And then the final thing I wanted to mention was the ability to save footage. So let's say this is the footage of Brooke stood there, she's having a vape, you want to save this as you want to share it with her parents. What we can then do is save this to the archive. The archive is unlimited. You can save as much footage as you would like there. You can then also, once it's in the archive, which is over here, you can then share this footage really easily. So if I wanted to share this footage here, you'll see that it's watermarked top left. It's got a little description of which camera it was. But then again, if I wanted to share this with Josh, add email, he's the parent, let's say, and I want to share it with him for a week, he would have access to this footage without having to download anything. But then it means that he can actually see the footage of his child misbehaving, of somebody vaping, or even if this is somebody that the police have asked you for camera footage or a parent has asked you for camera footage, this is a way of doing so whilst protecting those involved. You can even blur faces on it. That is where I'm up to, Josh. Anything you think I've missed? I know I've just whittled through a lot of stuff very quickly.
No, I think you're doing a really good job.
Oh, and sorry, let me go back again. I'm sharing still, aren't I? Hold on. So following that, and please, if you've got any questions, pop them in the Q&A box. But we also do run a free trial program. So we're massive on this as we believe that yeah, it's all well and good that you can look at the sensors that we have in our office, but we'd love for you to try them out in your environment. So you can get a risk-free 30-day trial. We're also very happy to work with you on what would be a successful proof of concept, whether it is that we do a couple of sensors in a toilet and then 2 weeks later you move them to a different toilet to evaluate if the boys or the girls are worse. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. My email will be at the end, or Josh, about arranging that. And the idea is really, after seeing that, I'm sure you're aware, this is what the text messages look like. And because it will record every entry and exit, the camera's recording 24/7, it does really allow you to have that full vape life cycle, rather than the vape sensor just being set off when somebody vapes and you thinking, we didn't get there in time, who caused it? It's capturing the peak and troughs of it so that when you look at the door footage, you really can work out who it is. And obviously, if you are walking by the toilet when you get one of these texts, you can easily investigate who it is in real time. The ability to accurately detect vaping is huge. We've minimized false positives because of the fact that we're so tried and tested in the US, and you can even configure the settings per sensor. So if you have got a toilet that is by a window or you think that might be messing with the readings, you can configure that without affecting all of the other sensors. And the ability to respond to alerts. So I think this is just a huge way of giving back time to your staff. I speak to schools that have staff doing lunch patrols, break patrols, during lesson patrols, having to escort children to toilets. And this is just a waste of time. It's a really good way of being able to monitor these areas without having to take up staff time that could be spent doing better things that would be more beneficial for them and for the students. And building an effective program. So the next slide is regarding this, but really we can help work with you on how you're going to handle this. How many alerts are you aiming to be at per week, per month? We can help implement policies. I'm always happy to chat about that sort of thing. I've even made my own behavioral suggested policy based on the Verkada vape sensors. And I think being able to see trends, like I said, with that year 9 example, is an absolutely massive one. So this is how to message this to your community. It's not to necessarily discipline students, okay? It's to start a conversation. How bad is the problem? Do you need to invest in having somebody come in and share their story about vaping? And I know that there are lots of businesses that do that, but the only way you're going to know whether that's a worthwhile investment is through implementing vape sensors and helping evaluate how bad is the problem. Does that somebody coming in and speaking, do more assemblies help? Educators are seeing results by intervention methods rather than punishment. So again, we stress that it shouldn't necessarily be a one strike and you're out policy, but rather that it helps with focusing on what you should be talking about with your students. Especially with, this third point about what is the issues? Is it mental health? Is it bullying? Is it that they feel persuaded by friends? Is it relationships? And it really helps you to understand why students might be vaping and identify perhaps in students that you don't think would necessarily be vaping. There's always some of those, and it helps you understand why they might be doing that. It's also a chance to educate students on the toxic effects of vaping, like I mentioned, and it's a chance to promote healthy alternatives like PE, competition, sports, etc. There are lots of youth ambassadors that assist with intervention and have this sort of talking points about the negative side effects of vaping. And obviously it helps as well with implementing staff training. How bad is the problem? Do you need to host a parent workshop, figure out if they are the ones providing the vapes? Do we need to help with media campaigns, with school policies? So it's really a way of evaluating all of that. So these are mine and Josh's contact details. Please feel free to take them down if you have any questions or you'd be interested in the trial or even chatting further about your specific use case. I'm always happy to do that. Do we have any questions, Josh?
Yeah, I've actually had a few questions come through. So see if we'll leave the chat open as well. So if you do have questions, please do put them now. So I was just wondering, can the sensors be used on their own? This particular school has just upgraded their CCTV, so the camera option wouldn't be something they'd be looking at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have schools that implement the vape sensors by themselves because, as you pointed out, sometimes it's just not the right time for the cameras. Two ways you can do this: you can implement the vape sensors and then utilize your existing CCTV to run back through and see who it was. But you can also rely on staff being kind of on it. I know that some schools will utilize like walkie-talkie systems so that they can figure out, they can say, hey, there's vaping going on in the year 7 toilets, who is by that right now? So that's definitely, yeah, you can use them without the cameras, but also some schools will buy the vape sensor, the cameras specifically as anti-vaping cameras and thinking of them as that as apart from CCTV.
Yeah, I was about to say that a lot of the accounts we've had, they have, we've entered in with sensors. Cameras have been bought not to replace a full CCTV solution, but as Bronte said, just as that anti-vaping detection solution, which has been really good and obviously reduces doing a full swap out. So how do you work to stop false positives? For example, could deodorants or perfumes cause the sensors to go off?
Yep. So the way we work to combat this, and this is the benefit of having a system that you get all these automatic software and firmware upgrades for free, as they adjust to their environment. And then with perfume and deodorant, we haven't found it to be that big of an issue. It is a different chemical to the vaping, unless students are spraying it directly in, and it could be a sign as well that your thresholds are set too low. The temptation with schools is to always put the threshold right down, that if it detects anything, but obviously that means that it's super sensitive, and that's the reason we put it in the middle. But again, if you work with your account manager, we all have aligned engineers here at Verkada and at Net-Ctrl. We'll always find a solution as to why you might be getting false negatives, but I've never actually had to deal with an issue of a school repeatedly getting false negatives.
Perfect. I wonder if it's also worth talking around the advice on sensor layout and design.
Yep. So we advise, if you have gaps at the top of your cubicles, we advise a sensor per 2 cubicles. If you're sensors are floor to ceiling. We advise 1 per cubicle. However, of course, it is always going to be on a case-by-case basis. Myself and Net-Ctrl are always happy to come out and help spec what sensors you would need for the best results. And it also depends what kind of solution you're after. If you want an absolutely zero tolerance approach to vaping, then you are going to need to get more to prevent that from happening anywhere in the bathrooms. But if it's more of a case of you'd like to assess the problem, then you could probably be a bit more sparing with the vape sensors.
Perfect. And something that I also think is worth talking around is from your perspective, what are the success factors in actually delivering a successful or positive vape solution into education?
I think that it requires buy-in from the SLT team and the IT team, just because a lot of the time we'll see that the SLT team push it and then the IT team won't necessarily help with the management of it if they haven't been looped in early enough. I think it requires open conversations with parents and with the school, whether it's the headmistress or the head of SLT, about what is going to be the policy regarding vaping. It also does matter massively on the on the rollout of the vape sensors. Some schools will cover 2 toilets out of their 3 in vape sensors, and what kids will then figure out is that there is a 3rd toilet that doesn't have any vape sensors in. It just moves the problem. So it's really about being smart with your deployment, and that's where us and Net-Ctrl are always happy to help. We're very consultative on that basis.
Great. And there's been another question about the I suppose that the wider question is the infrastructure needed to onboard these sensors.
Yep, so they are powered by PoE.
Fine, perfect. So look, we'll leave the chat open for another moment. If you do have any questions, do put them there. After this session, I'll be sending everyone the 2023 teen vaping survey that Bronte mentioned on her first slide, I think it was. We've also got Verkada produced this really good, it's a school leader's guide to addressing vaping. It's more for SLT or maybe pastoral leads or behavioural leads. But it kind of outlines some strategies, some of the things that Bronte's mentioned, but it's really interesting. It's not necessarily IT related, but it's something to talk about the wider conversation that needs to happen at multiple levels. And also we'll share some pricing as well on that email, so you have it. We know pricing is key. Education is a very price sensitive market. Budgets are ever tighter. And we understand that. So, I'll include that on the email that comes out to you all as well. There'll also be a link to the recording. So if you do have people in SLT or, heads or whoever it might be that would want to watch this back, we'll send that through and make it available. Let's see. How do you go about getting a free trial?
That would be if you get in contact with Verkada or with Net-Ctrl, we will point you in the way of your aligned account manager. They'll jump on a 15-minute Zoom with you just to understand about where would be best for the trial, because we don't want to send them and then you have them on your desk for a month and you don't get best use out of them. So that's the way to do it. Or please feel free to drop me an email as well, and I'm happy to arrange it for you.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I'll mention that on the email as well. So again, if anyone does want to do it, just respond, let me know, or point me in the right direction of who will be managing that trial, and as Bron said, we'll make sure it happens for you. Right, I hope you know this acronym. Can you also help with DPIA? Is that an acronym that you're aware of? I always get lost with some acronyms.
Data protection. Yeah, we can help.
Data protection impact assessment.
Yeah, we can definitely help with that. I've personally been working on a couple over the last month. Yep, if it's something, especially with the cameras, that you're concerned about, then please, again, feel free to get in touch with me. I have an engineer that works specifically with me, and we also have an in-house legal team that can help advise on your DPIA and building it to sort of fit in. But just so everyone knows as well, we are GDPR compliant and we meet GDPR compliance. And it's just about the information. It's about not labeling people as first and last name is the kind of crux of it. But again, Josh, that might be handy to send out as well, is our GDPR link.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I'll do that. All right, so if anyone does have a last question, if you could post it now. I know something actually that we get asked a lot as well, Bronte, that might be worth covering as well. So, what happens? So obviously, with the sensors, we Verkada operate a license scheme. So, typically they're in 1, 3, 5, and 10 years. But a question we get asked a lot, what happens when my license expires?
Yep. So the Verkada pricing works with hardware and the software, the two line items. You own the hardware outright. Doesn't matter about which license you go with. And then let's say you go with a 5-year license. At the end of the 5 years, the only thing you'll need to renew is the 5-year license. But that isn't paid yearly. That is an upfront cost. So it's a one-off payment and you're covered for 5 years. And then in theory, you'd buy another 5-year license, which brings you to the end of your 10-year warranty. But the hardware you own outright.
Fantastic. No, thank you. Well, we haven't had any new questions come in. So if there are any questions that you have that haven't had time to put, respond to my email, let us know, and we'll get an answer to you right away. But thank you for everyone that's joined. And thank you, Bronte, as well, for bringing that main session.
No worries.
We know your time is in demand, so we appreciate you giving it to us today.
No worries. Thank you, everyone. And please feel free to get in touch if you have any questions.
Thanks all. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.